Catus Maximus here, this time with a SqueezeWrench from the Spec Tools. So this would be the original quote-unquote inventor of this low-profile, high-access ratchet. The problem is mainly they use an oddball 9/16 hex drive. This isn't even 14 millimeter, it's not 11 millimeter, it's not 3/4 inch or 19 millimeter where you could use traditional pass-through sockets with it. It really is indeed 9/16, and it's really pretty unfortunate. I only have the ratchet, but I don't need the whole set because the whole set's just ridiculous. So how does it drive other fasteners that are smaller than 14 millimeter 9/16? Has a series of sleeves that go in there, and that's all it is. It's a sleeve ratchet and it has this little lever that pushes up on the actual quote-unquote anvil. Then it has a second little piece here which prevents it from backing off when you're retracting. It is reversible, but I find it's easier just to grab onto this and flip it over. But you're supposed to grab this thing and see there's these teeth. They're kind of slightly curved. This is cast steel. That's cast steel. This is cast steel, so very cheaply made. The rivets, they're hollow. The reason those are not as good is they just don't hold as well. You can see where like this one's starting to split. Quality rivets are solid, and they actually hammer them and round them over like an old set of pliers or something. You can see it more distinctively down there. This is just a real thin lip of metal, and so it just doesn't hold on as well as a totally solid rivet. Really pretty unfortunate. It is a tool where they had kind of an interesting idea. This is the spring that's pushing back and forth and actually has an interesting little kind of piston rod to keep it centered. But unfortunately, it's a gimmick tool. They just use totally the wrong size. I mean, the idea is that you'd have a tight area and you can have the little socket in there and you could put it in and be able to ratchet it out. Maybe use this as a handle to break the bolt. But it's just not very good. And they didn't think out the sizing. And actually, one of the worst things about this is you think, well, it's really low profile. Not really. Case in point here, I want those O'Reilly low profile 3/8 ratchets. And you can actually see the head of this ratchet's thinner than this sheet metal squeeze wrench. And so for something that was, or could have had at least some degree of potential, I mean, my big issue is that they're charging $50 for this thing. And it comes with a few sleeve sockets and a very oddball 9/16 to 3/8 inch drive hex adapter. And they want like $50 for like a few simple sockets and an adapter and a bit driver. It's really just not worth it. It just isn't worth it because it just isn't made very well, and the design could have been executed a little bit better. Even though you can appreciate the complexity, there's all sorts of little machine parts, like for the little reverse lever here, all these different cast parts, the stamped sheet metal pieces. They're kind of like 70% or 80% of the way there, but they should have just made it a $100 item, had it with a 3/4 inch drive, because that would have been not much more in diameter. And then the darn thing could have been a lot more useful. How it retains the sockets, let me rotate this around, is it has these little ball detents. Of course, one of them fell out because it's just not a very good tool. Kind of evidence of the quality. So, what could have maybe had some potential, really, just ends up being some item that you would get as being a loyal subscriber to Popular Mechanics or something like that. But if you see one of these squeeze wrenches online for, their knockoff one's $35, the actual Spec Tools one is $50 to the same set, pass it by. Find something, a little ratchet like this that's 72 tooths will give you a fine enough sweep so you'll get into 90% of the places that, this tool will get into. And then you actually get something that's reliable and professional. And I'm pretty sure that this will take more torque with its alloy steels as opposed to cast steel. And if we pull this open here, you kind of such a funky system. You worry about all sorts of particles and stuff getting in there, although I think that would be okay. I'm trying to get a close look. The cast steel is just so rough, and it just isn't particularly strong. That's the problem with something being cast versus forged, is that the grain structure is randomized. And so you don't have long crystals really tying together the material. This kind of reminds me of those, not Robo Grip pliers, but the bionic wrench. That's the word, the tool I'm looking for. Those wrenches that have the little teeth that come in onto the fastener. Seems like a good idea. I think Sears got in a big brouhaha for usurping somebody's patent on those many years ago. The problem with them is they have heads that are just so massive that they're basically useless. And in the case of this tool, they decided to use some proprietary design choices and a pretty, they do use nice chrome-plated, stamped sheet steel, but they chintz. They tried to hit too low of a price target, and so it ends up having just mediocre build quality. And then the proprietary 9/16 hex drive means that it's effectively useless. You use it, you lose like this, you lose the little socket sleeves, and there's nothing, it's Ratchet's basically useless. This is a 9/16/14mm, very oddball squeeze trigger ratcheting box wrench. That's what this is. Although it'd be kind of neat to actually see a whole set of these. It was just an array, maybe 8 to 19mm of a bunch of squeeze ratcheting box wrenches. That may have some merit there. Anyway, thought I'd try to save you some money by reviewing these oddball tools, and I do like reviewing them because it's always interesting to see thinking outside of the box, and this definitely is thinking outside of the box. It is an interesting mechanism, but once again, poor execution. Anyway, I really appreciate everybody who's been watching and subscribing, and if you haven't subscribed, please do. Until next time, Catus Maximus out.